Welcome back to Friday with Mr. B, talking to this journalist, a prolific journalist of over 30 years of experience, and of course really looking at the way forward in developing this country. A couple of things really came up in regards to our last discussion. Number one, that we need to change the name of corruption. Corruption has become a very general term that really doesn't make any sense. If you are corrupt, you're a killer of the Kenyan society. Another revelation, that some of the wealthiest people in Kenya, when you look at their record, they actually worked in public service. So that tells you something. And then definitely, if you go to our jails, the prisons in this country, you don't find any senior citizen in terms of seniority, in terms of position, a government official. That tells you something, that a lot of the Kenyan people, poor people, are actually in prison, and definitely we need to do something about it. Now, we've spoken about this corruption, this killer of the Kenyan society. Let's talk about the solutions going forward.
Yes.
I'm a Kenyan citizen. I'm an ordinary mama mboga. And here we're saying the mama mboga as well is not also sort of out of the woods when it comes to corruption. Because there is also the city council that she has to deal with.
Yes.
And perhaps she might find it an easier way out to pay the 100, 200 so that she escapes the hand of the law. What is the way forward?
Yes, there is a sense of helplessness, and many people say, well, when I'm alone, what can I do? And that creates a sense of inertia that you can't move. I think it has to start by saying that I can do something little. I can make little difference. And if I start, something sparkles, there is something that will happen. I want to give one example. When we were very young guys and we were to start a publication for youth called Step Magazine. And we said, we must fight corruption. That time it was more on the buses and the traffic police. So we started Nairobi, railway, about 6 of us. And we are on Gong Road. Before we got to Kenya Science, we found a traffic police and stopped the bus. And then the tout went outside and talked to the policeman. Then he came back. Then he told, those days drivers were the ones keeping money. Said, give me 100 shillings. And he was now going out to take to the police. So 6 of us stood up and said, tell all these people in the bus, where are you taking that money?
What?
And the whole bus was frozen. They didn't know. The driver didn't know what to do. This guy didn't know what to do. He's just stood
out there waiting still.
And the police is wondering what is happening.
He's taking time.
It's taking time. Then because there was that confusion, then we told the driver, please proceed.
But what about the police?
So now he didn't know, he was mixed up. So he starts very slowly, moving, slowly. And the police didn't do anything. And this guy who had money didn't do anything. So it's when we got just at the gate of Kenya Science, everybody in that bus fell into a big laughter. But well, when you are young, you can do a lot of things. And what I'm saying is that when you do something small, it has a lot of ripples. And so for that mama mboga can join with the other mama mboga, they can join and they say this is no. This is like the way we we brought so many mothers together, and they said, no, we must keep this killing of our children by drugs, alcohol must stop. And you saw the whole country went, so it's like one candle could light a certain, but when you bring them together, you find they can produce a lot of light, though they are normally weak.
But
Yeah?
Mr. B, I
Yes,
want to
yes.
bring something here.
Yes.
And this is something that is very practical.
Yes.
You drive to town,
Yeah,
the traffic lights are red,
Yeah.
you decide to stop,
yeah,
and you hope that the person behind you will also stop.
yeah,
But the reality, Mr. B, is
Yeah.
when you stand and say no,
yeah,
actually you will be seen as just the way the six of you stood,
yeah.
and the rest were like, what are you doing? So how do you make sure that there's a ripple effect, that other people also stand with you?
Yeah, when you stand, it gives people energy. It has energy. And you find somebody saying, so it can happen. Yeah, so it can happen. And we have big armies of young people in the university, everywhere. If we can start this to say, we must now confront the killers of our society. And for you to be labeled a killer is already bad enough. So when we see, like these members of parliament, they want to give themselves hefty pension for life from first term, instead of asking themselves, how can we up the service we are going to give our people? The first, you remember, when the parliament resumed for the first time, their job was, let's add our salaries. Yeah? Okay, you can add your salaries, but you must make commitment that we must also achieve this and this and this for our people. Our village must now look like this. Yeah? It is not, that is the idea I was floating, that people in public service, they go there. There is a story in one of my places, village, where an MC had a bicycle.
An MC meaning Master of Ceremony, or MCA?
MCA.
MCA. A member
MCA.
of the county assembly.
Yeah. And now he's with, they are called SUVs, these big vehicles. That's what he is driving. Everything has changed. He is building a palace. And
All
he
of a
has
sudden?
a sudden. The good thing, people knew him in the village.
Used to greet people and
Yeah.
ask for their votes and
Yeah.
all that.
And surely, this person, then you wonder, why is the village the same way? Why is the village the same way? Why is not everybody building his small palace?
Yeah, but Mr. B, how do we change this mentality? Because Kenyans actually expect you, when you become member of parliament, Mr. B, people don't expect you to drive your usual car. They expect you to get something bigger, something better, move to a palace, as you're saying. It's there. If you don't, they will think you're failing.
Yes, that is the culture that together we need to change and give value to somebody who has served people diligently. When I drive in this city and I see what the town clerk, Gakwo, did in terms of environment. You drive this road, Wayak, way up, the villages up here, you find beautiful trees and you find people resting during the sunny days under there. This guy did something. Yeah? We need more and more to focus. That guy is not a guy who has a lot of things, I'm sure. But people remember him, and we should honor people like that. We should shift our value to say, let's now start to give respect and honor to those people who are diligently serving people. So that is the best thing you can do, is to have that accorded to you as a person who served his people. Rather than, this is a guy who got very rich quickly, and in his funeral, what will people say? Probably we need to hear, here is a man we are burying today who served his people with distinction. And I tell you, when you have done that, you find goodness, even your children, it will follow them up. We have many people who have been very wealthy, and all we find is fights for his property. Could that be one of the curses?
The man was wealthy.
Yeah.
Now he's dead.
Yeah.
The children are now fighting for his wealth.
Some have even killed one another.
It's a serious one there, very serious indeed. Now, just before we wind up, of course, we've talked about the responsibility of the individual.
Yes.
That as a mama mboga, you can decide to say no today, and make sure you also encourage other people to stand. But you don't have to wait for other people, because when you stand and say no, you create some kind of energy, and people definitely will stand with you. Whether it's on the traffic lines, whether it's getting your passport or whatever it is. But Mr. Bedan, there are two classes in society that also, these two classes need to be involved.
Yeah.
Media and business people.
Yes.
The entrepreneurs. Because
Yes.
right now we're talking about entrepreneurs.
Yes.
How do we engage them
Yes.
in the fight against
Yes.
corruption?
For entrepreneurs and business people, we can join up together. I think you know that ourselves, we have joined up together with others in something called BNI. You know, this is a Business Network International, and we have rules. One of the rules is that you cannot participate in unethical business, meaning corruption or killers of the society or killers of businesses. Yeah? And you have to deliver, to honor commitments you have given as a business. And now we are about 500 businesses in the country. And every week, we meet every Wednesday, we are becoming more and more. And that way, we will reach a point where we have a critical mass. And we will also be selling this to other people and see examples. Like Tata Company in India, which decided to fight corruption, but also invest directly to the people. They said all the wealth we have come from the people. So it is not a small thing called social responsibility. It's everything we have. So they have the best cancer hospital is by Tata. Then they go to all these poor areas. Any good top student in those poor schools, they are taken to Institute of Science and Technology. And these people have come up. They have said, we want a car for Mama Mboga. So they are, and one of the important things is that we will never participate in corruption. And there was a time, because they have also their biggest, transporters. they said, we are not going to they went on strike because of police, bribe. They said, no way. Until now the country came and said, okay, let's agree. You come to our depot, you check whether all the vehicles are okay. But when we start doing business, unless we have broken a rule, you don't have to stop us for bribe. That company has prospered. It has bought companies in UK, it has bought companies here in Kenya, even Magadi Soda. Yeah? So we are forgetting that there is blessing also from the Almighty for people who want to do good. So businesses can come together and start becoming more and more who say no to corruption, say no. And that we are going to change Kenya, and I believe we are going to do. So that is for
Entrepreneurs, media people.
Media people. This is where serious flaws are, and we admit we are part of media. And even at that time of Obama, we did a good job to show everything that was happening. But at the same time after, we start talking, bringing headlines. Where did Obama sleep?
That becomes the big story again.
What did he eat? And that has a way of putting the main agenda, which is corruption, completely out. So as a media, we need to help people to know what are the most important things about this. If it is corruption, how can we assist in eliminating corruption in our country? If corruption is that destructive, is a killer, and we have powerful instrument of communication, how can we communicate about this evil? How can we expose it? And that exposing of corruption, I remember when I was editor-in-chief of People, there was a bank, trade bank, where there is ethics.
And an anti-corruption integrity center.
That was a bank. But they started, stealing money from depositors and also from central bank. And we got all these facts. And when money was taken from central bank to there, then very powerful people would come the other side and take it to build all these big things. Yeah? So we decided we must expose. What happened when we wrote the story, we must also ring the person who was heading Trade Bank to say, we are going to publish this story. We want your side of the story.
So that it's balanced.
So this guy, instead, when I called him, he said, give me 15 minutes. I will respond. Instead of responding, I saw him in my office, and he had a briefcase.
Briefcase?
Yeah. So when he came, he opened briefcase. It had 5 million Kenya shillings.
Which year was that?
That was 1993 there.
5 million?
5 million. He said, editor, let's kill the story. This is your small gift.
Small? 5 million?
5 million was a lot of money. Yeah? So, myself, I was very clear. I said, my conscience is not for sale. What we needed is very small, just your side of the story. He was shocked. He said, close your suitcase, briefcase, and give us a rebuttal, your side of the story.
There's also another aspect,
Yes,
a reverse.
yes,
Media stations, and this I've heard from different corporate organizations, they have good stories. But
Yes.
media stations tell them, we cannot air unless you pay us something.
yeah.
How do we handle that?
Yeah, that is terrible, terrible. You know, in the last election, I stood for governor for Kiambu. And it was very interesting. It made me really know the media. Because I didn't get much exposure, though I was a media person. Because they were asking for money. One of FM station, asked for 100,000.
Just to appear on the station for an interview.
Yeah. So somebody there, finally senior, managed to say, please, we better give this gentleman an opportunity. So finally I succeeded. I went there. And one of the things in the interview, I said, anyone who knows that I took money or I gave money for corruption, please call now. And nobody called.
Nobody called.
And media is for us as journalists fast to change.
For us
You
as
and
journalists,
I to
for
change.
me to change.
Yeah. Because unless we are communicating what we are communicant of, we cannot help transform our society. That means if I say that we must shun corruption, we must expose corruption, and we are in the center of corruption.
Can't work.
So media is the one organ that we can pray to God to redeem because of its responsibility. So it's doable.
It's doable. Our numbers on the screen. We've started the war as WTV
Yeah.
to get rid of killers
Yeah.
of the Kenyan society, and we want you to be part of it. If you go to any place and you see corruption, you see bribing taking place, call the number on your screen. You can also send a message on 20058. That's 20058 of what is happening around where you are in terms of corruption and how we can fight corruption. Our Twitter handle is @WTVKE. That's @WTVKE. Let me tell you something. Every Friday on Mr. B, we'll be making a total difference in terms of taking this country to the next level of excellence, and you are part of it. This is WTV, your Biashara channel. It's been Friday with Mr. B. Let's meet next time, every time, 7 p.m. only on WTV, every Friday.